Donald Trump is panicking as the case for impeachment has been made on the floor of the United States Senate. Not just the case for impeachment, but the case for a conviction after impeachment. The case for Donald Trump's impeachment and conviction over 500 days into this corrupt and criminal regime was made by Democratic Senator Chris Murphy. Democratic Senator Murphy pulled out all of the receipts of Donald Trump's criminality and Donald Trump's corruption and made one of the most compelling presentations I've seen yet. And folks, surely we will be seeing this again if and when Democrats take control of the House and the Senate, and when the impeachment charges drop and when the conviction trials begin. Let me show you the case for Donald Trump's impeachment and conviction as set forth by Democratic Senator Chris Murphy. So he took to the Senate floor and he said the following: Trump has turned the White House into a 24/7 corruption machine. This is a national crisis. Trump thinks the public will stop paying attention if he floods the zone with constant disinformation, with constant chaos. So, Senator Chris Murphy says, I went to the Senate floor to call his bluff. I told the entire story of what went down in 500 days. Here's Senator Murphy giving the introduction right here. Let's play it.
This moment is exceptional. It is a one-of-one moment. And if it becomes normal, if people stop being outraged at what he is doing to enrich himself, then I fear there is no going back. The White House will just become a place to get rich. So I think it's time to pull back and see the full picture. To not view this as just one isolated scandal after another, every single one popping up each week or every few days, but to understand the full scope of this illegality. Last year, I came to the floor to document the first 100 days of Donald Trump's mind-blowing corruption. Since then, especially in 2026, the pace of his misconduct has quickened dramatically. And so I'm here on the floor today, and I'm going to spend more than a few minutes doing this, laying out what has happened since I gave that last speech. This is the story of 500 days of corruption.
Next, Senator Murphy talks about the April 7th, 2025 date of corruption. Donald Trump, one of the biggest crypto players in the world, declares we will no longer be enforcing our laws against the crypto industry. Active fraud investigations are shut down. The entire crypto enforcement team at the DOJ is fired. Play this clip.
And I'm going to start on April 7th, 2025. This is when the current acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, issues a memo ordering the termination of several Biden-era DOJ investigations into crypto companies. Now, here's the problem. The then Deputy Attorney General is a major investor in crypto companies, and he works for a president who is a major player in the crypto industry. But DOJ just drops these investigations, signals that the Department of Justice is no longer going to hold crypto companies accountable. But Blanche owns major investments in crypto stocks. The president is one of the biggest players in the industry. Blanche doesn't actually stop there. He eliminates the entire enforcement team at DOJ dedicated to rooting out crypto-related fraud and money laundering schemes. This is a crypto investor who works for a president who owns crypto companies, shutting down the unit at DOJ that holds this industry accountable.
Now, I should also note, after watching that, you see why, though we need regulation, doesn't mean we need over-regulation, but we need the right amount of regulations, because Even for the industry, crypto has crashed right now. And to me, it's not a coincidence that it crashes under the guy who says, I'm the crypto guy. Everything Donald Trump touches dies. Next date of corruption, September 23rd, 2026. Border czar Tom Homan caught by FBI agents taking bribes in exchange for federal contracts. The FBI has video footage of Tom Homan accepting a bribe, a big bag of cash. Trump kills the FBI investigation, and Homan gets a job in the administration. Play this clip.
A week later, on September 23rd, Donald Trump closes the books on a criminal investigation into one of his key advisors, Tom Homan. This is his border czar. The FBI had caught Tom Homan red-handed, engaging in naked corruption. Undercover agents had handed him $50,000 in cash, in a bag, and he agreed to give them government contracts. This was on video. This is the border czar getting a bag of cash in exchange for contracts on video, but the administration on September 20th just makes the investigation go away because that kind of bribery, that kind of naked graft is okay in this White House.
Next date of corruption, October 7, 2025. Trump's crypto corruption comes full circle. He pardons Changpeng Zhao, or CZ as he goes by, the convicted money launderer of terrorists, drug cartels, and sex traffickers, the biggest in the world. Donald Trump says, how may I help you? Zhao helped Trump and his family set up a crypto coin scheme, and here's what Donald Trump did. Murphy lays out the case. Let's play it.
Maybe the most nakedly corrupt pardon. There's not a single senator that could defend this. Changpeng Zhao built an entire business based on allowing terrorists, drug traffickers, and sex predators to use his cryptocurrency to evade the law. He went to jail for this. But he also helped Trump launch his crypto business. So who cares about financing terrorists and sex criminals? Trump gives this guy a full pardon on October 7th. It's naked. This is a guy who built a company that allowed terrorists and sex predators to engage in private financing. He went to jail. He got out of jail because he agreed to help get Trump rich.
Next date of corruption, November 4th, 2025. The White House forces the Pentagon to give a company owned by Trump's kids a massive government contract and a $670 million loan. No competitive bidding process, all taxpayer dollars. Donald Trump Jr. 10x'd his profits, folks. And this is in matters of war and peace also. The corruption by itself needs to be called out for its criminality, as Senator Murphy puts it, for its corruption. I'm giving you my opinion, of course, as protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. But let me also just say this is war and peace. So if you're giving contracts to people who shouldn't get these contracts, instead of, say, I don't know, who's good at manufacturing drones right now? Maybe the Ukrainians are probably good at drones. Like, you know, maybe you want to go buy drone. No, it's Don Jr. and Eric. Here, play this clip.
It's not just Trump's corporate donors that are getting rich now. Part of the White House's daily operation is to find creative ways to funnel taxpayer money to Trump's kids. This one's wild. The Trump administration in November, early November, announces a really unusual deal. The government, the Pentagon, is taking a $50 million stake in a single rare earths minerals company called Vulcan Elements and giving them a $620 million taxpayer-funded loan. That is big money. And the Pentagon doesn't really do deals like this. But they do when Donald Trump Jr. is one of the company's key investors. We come to find out that civil servants in the Pentagon did not want to do this deal, only did it because the White House told them to do the deal. One official said, quote, The call came from the White House. We have to get this done. Before the deal, Vulcan was worth $200 million. Donald Trump Jr. made an investment. His father got the Pentagon to give them the contract and buy the stake in the company, and the valuation jumped overnight $200 million to $2 billion. Donald Trump Jr. 10x'd his profits. I mean, how does anybody in this body justify that? You've probably not even heard that story. It barely cracked the news. Like in normal times, that scandal alone, the president's son making an investment in the company, the federal government then making a massive investment subsequently. The Pentagon didn't want to do it, only did it because the president told them to do it after his son made the investment, and the value of the president's son's investment went up by 10 times. That scandal alone would take down a presidency.
Next date of corruption, April 10th, 2026. Trump promises mass pardons of all his co-conspirators at the White House. Why aren't Trump's henchmen worried about going to jail for corruption and bribery? Because Trump guaranteed them they'll all get away with it. Play this clip.
But why do they think they can get away with this? Why does anybody think that they can get away with this? So much of this is illegal, right? You would say to yourself, nobody would engage in that kind of naked illegal practice. Nobody would award contracts to the kids knowing that that doesn't pass legal muster. On April 10th, you figure out why they think they're going to get away with it. On April 10th, Donald Trump makes an explicit promise that everybody engaged in this corruption will get away with it. Here is his quote on April 10th, as the pace of this corruption increases. Quote, "I will pardon everyone within 200 feet of the White House." So now you understand why people think they can get away with it.
April 27, 2026, Trump's ballroom contractor gets a no-bid $17 million contract to refurbish the reflecting pool. The actual cost of the project was $3 million, but Trump inflated the price for his friends. We, the taxpayers, are funding all of this disgusting crap as Donald Trump has turned Washington, D.C. into a literal swamp cesspool junkyard. It looks like the mold that's all over Donald Trump's properties. Play this clip.
Trump wants to get all his friends involved in the grift now. So Trump gives a no-bid $17 million contract to refurbish 2 fountains near the White House, including the reflecting pool. We're living with the consequences of this corruption right now, as we have a green reflecting pool. This is a completely unqualified contractor who is already in over his head because he's involved in the ballroom, and he gets a new $17 million contract. Does it really cost $17 million to clean up fountains? The answer from the National Park Service itself is no. In fact, the National Park Service was planning to bid that contract out for 1/5 what Trump gave it to his friend for. But it was a no-bid contract. It just went to Donald Trump's friend. The value was wildly inflated. And so now Trump's buddy has an extra $14 million, more than the actual cost of the project. It's your money. This money doesn't grow on trees. This is taxpayer money. It's supposed to cost $3 million. He gave the contract for $17 million.
Next date of corruption, April 30th, 2026. Trump takes a $5 million bribe from the big tobacco industry. Then he personally calls his FDA commissioner and Dr. Oz, demanding that they change the rules so big tobacco can make billions targeting our kids with vapes. Cherry vapes, strawberry vapes, mango vapes, vapes for everybody. And also the Trump regime submits a amicus brief in favor of making glyphosate completely immune from any legal liability. And the Supreme Court finds that you can't sue the makers, Monsanto and its successor company, Bayer, for glyphosate. Let's play this clip right here.
Big Tobacco has wanted for years to break into the $6 billion flavored vape and e-cigarette market. But the FDA, of course, has had regulations to say that you can't sort of run back this old playbook of the tobacco companies marketing to kids. So we haven't allowed them to market these flavored vape products, these bubblegum flavored vape products. I have 2 teenagers. I know exactly what's going on. They are marketing these products to kids, and they weren't allowed to do it. But the tobacco lobbyists did the thing that we've talked about over and over again. They made a $5 million donation, and if you make a $5 million donation, you get a lunch with the president or a dinner with the president. So they get this lunch with the president, and they say to the president, just like the nursing homes executive said, I want the vape rule to be rescinded. Surrounded by these big tobacco representatives, President Trump, like at the moment, calls the FDA commissioner and tells them to rescind the regulations. He calls up Dr. Oz. Like, all this is happening immediately. Tells him to rescind the regulations. The FDA commissioner resigns in protest. He said, in good conscience, he couldn't do this. He couldn't be part of this kind of corruption. But on Friday, the FDA announced that it was bypassing all traditional rulemaking to adopt the exact policy that the tobacco executives asked for the weekend before. Less than a week. Less than a week. No rulemaking. FDA commissioner resigns.
Next date of corruption, May 11, 2026, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy launches a reality TV show featuring himself. A big cross-country road trip with his family. Those vacations that he took this whole time he's been Transportation Secretary are paid for by Boeing, Toyota, United Airlines, all the companies his department is supposed to regulate. Literally a reality show Transportation Secretary who got famous on The Real World and then The Real World Road Rules Challenge, where he met his wife, who's now also a host on Fox, engaged in this obvious quid pro quo corruption. Play this clip.
Not all the stories of the corruption in this White House require deep journalistic dives into obscure public records. Sometimes you can just log on to YouTube, where you can find the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy's family road trip reality show. Who is bankrolling this stunt? Who's paying for the gas, the hotels, the cameras, filming his vacation? Not Duffy. It's Toyota, it's Boeing, it's United Airlines, it's all the companies that Secretary Duffy is responsible for regulating. Gas prices are going up, transportation costs are going up, and the Secretary of Transportation is riding in snowmobiles in Montana paid for by the companies he regulates. Decades ago, that scandal alone, companies you regulate paying for your vacations, would have resulted in a cabinet member resigning in disgrace. My Republican colleagues know this. This didn't used to be acceptable. But in Trump's White House, everyone has their hand out for a payday. It's encouraged.
Next date of corruption, May 27, 2026. Trump gives a $10 billion contract to Dell, a company which he holds millions of dollars in stock. We find out Trump is boosting several companies that are in his investment portfolio. In fact, he made 3,700 stock trades in the first quarter of 2026 alone of companies who he has their CEOs regularly visit and who he regularly pumps up their stocks through these meetings. Play this clip.
And then finally in May, we discover another monster corruption scheme. The market bets based on inside information have not, in fact, been limited to Trump's staff and friends. The entire time that Trump has been in office, we discover, he has not been putting his money into a blind trust. He has been personally signing off on thousands and thousands of individual trades. No previous president has done this. Here's an example of how it works. Early in the year, Trump buys $1 million of Dell stock. A couple days later, from the White House podium, he boosts the company, Dell, that he just bought stock in. A couple of months later, he gives Dell a $10 billion defense contract with the Pentagon. That happens over and over again. The president buys stock, he publicly boosts the company, he gives government work.
And Senator Murphy says, I couldn't cover it all. I tried to do my best on this speech. What do you think? How do you make the case? Obviously, there's so much more. I mean, he couldn't even get into all of it. But play this clip.
I know all this feels exhausting, 500 days of corruption, but we've never, ever seen this before. I only listed like half of the publicly disclosed incidents of corruption. And we just can't pretend that this is normal. I'm giving a half an hour to this because this is a serious, serious crisis. The pay-to-play schemes, the pardons for donors, the contracts for friends, the favors for Trump's children, the use of inside information to make money. This is not a disconnected series of scandals. This is a system. Government is supposed to serve us. It is supposed to lower costs. It's supposed to protect our families, strengthen our schools, make life better for people. But Donald Trump believes that government exists to serve him, to make him richer, to protect his friends, to reward his donors. This is why he doesn't have time for you. He doesn't have time to solve real problems because he's making money for himself and his friends. And he's betting that the corruption will be so constant that we stop hearing it, that the outrage will just turn into exhaustion, and the exhaustion will just turn into acceptance. We can't let that happen, because once corruption becomes normal, it becomes permanent. The White House is not a business opportunity. The presidency is not a license to steal from the American people. The government of the United States doesn't exist to make Donald Trump rich. It belongs to the American people. And after 500 days of corruption, Democrats and Republicans in this body, along with the American people, should start acting like it.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.